Welcome to the Martian Chronicle, the channel where we uncover the strange, the unexplained, and the mysterious. From UFO sightings to paranormal encounters, we dive deep into the stories that make you question the world around us. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated on our latest videos. Now, let's dive into today's story. February 25, 1942. Just a few months after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the skies over Los Angeles would become the site of a strange and frightening event, an incident that has become one of the most mysterious and debated moments in UFO history. In the middle of the night, a series of bright, unidentified lights appeared over the city. The air raid sirens began blaring, signaling an impending threat. The military responded with a barrage of gunfire and searchlights, turning the sky above Los Angeles into a chaotic scene of panic and confusion. But what exactly happened that night? And what was the true nature of the mysterious object that triggered such an extraordinary military response? The air raid. It was just after 3 a.m. when the first reports came in. An unknown object appeared in the sky over Los Angeles, and immediately, the U.S. Army sprang into action. The city, still recovering from the shock of Pearl Harbor, was on high alert. The country was on edge, anticipating another Japanese attack. The U.S. Army's anti-aircraft batteries were quickly activated, and the air raid sirens began wailing across the city. Citizens scrambled for shelter, and military units prepared for the worst. Then, in the dead of night, over 1,400 rounds of ammunition were fired into the sky, as searchlights and artillery lit up the sky in an attempt to intercept the object. For over an hour, Los Angeles was in the grip of panic. The military fired relentlessly at the object, but despite the fierce assault, the object remained unharmed and completely unscathed. By the time the shooting stopped, there was no wreckage, no sign of an attack, and no confirmation of what had just occurred. The mystery object. Witnesses on the ground described the object in different ways, but one thing was consistent. It was large, glowing, and hovering silently in the sky. Some described it as a Zeppelin, others speculated it was a Japanese aircraft. But despite the frenzy of gunfire and searchlights, the object seemed impervious to the military's attack. What made this object so puzzling was how it moved. It didn't behave like any aircraft the military had encountered. It was described as moving slowly, almost as if it was taunting the military efforts to shoot it down. It wasn't a quick-moving enemy bomber, nor was it a fast-moving aircraft. It was something else altogether. Some witnesses claimed it was a massive, round object, hovering silently. Others said it appeared more like a large light or glow in the sky. But one thing was certain, it was not something anyone could identify. The cover-up. The official explanation from the military came swiftly. The object was a weather balloon. This was the story that was broadcast to the public, but many eyewitnesses remained unconvinced. They argued that the object they saw that night was far too large and moved in ways that a weather balloon never could. Despite the widespread reports from civilians, the military's explanation didn't sit well with many. After all, over 1,400 rounds of ammunition had been fired at this object, and yet no wreckage was found. No debris, no trace of anything that could explain what had happened. Why was the military so quick to dismiss the event? Why did they push such an implausible explanation, even though it seemed clear to many that what they had seen was far beyond the capabilities of a weather balloon? Some began to wonder if the military knew more than they were letting on, if there was something they were trying to hide. Eyewitness accounts. Perhaps the most compelling evidence for what happened that night comes from those who were there. Eyewitnesses who lived through the incident have recalled their memories in startling detail. One such witness, William G., was a 16-year-old boy living in Los Angeles in 1942. He recalls being woken up by the sound of artillery fire and, upon looking outside, seeing a massive, glowing object hovering in the sky above his home. William G. I looked up and there it was, this big light in the sky. It wasn't like anything I'd ever seen before. It didn't move like a plane or a balloon. It just hovered there, and they kept firing at it. It was like it didn't even care. William's story echoes that of many others. The object was moving too slowly to be a plane, and too quickly to be a weather balloon. It was something entirely different, a fact that the military seemed unwilling to acknowledge. Theories and speculation. So, what was the object over Los Angeles that night? Theories abound. Some suggest it was a UFO, an alien craft observing the city in the midst of war. UFO researchers believe it may have been an early extraterrestrial visit, a craft from another world that was simply curious about what was happening on Earth. Others believe it was a military test, perhaps an experimental craft developed in secret. Some speculate it could have been a top-secret weapon or a prototype, one that the government didn't want the public to know about, especially in the tense atmosphere of wartime. Of course, there are those who still believe the military's explanation, that it was simply a weather balloon or a false alarm. But given the scale of the response and the lack of concrete evidence, this explanation doesn't seem to satisfy the many people who witnessed the event firsthand. Legacy and unanswered questions. To this day, the Battle of Los Angeles remains one of the most mysterious events in UFO history. Despite the official explanation, there are still many questions that remain unanswered. What exactly did people see that night? Why did the military fire so many rounds and then refuse to explain what happened? The event continues to be a source of debate and intrigue. Some believe it was a case of wartime hysteria, a panic driven by the fear of another attack. Others remain convinced that what was seen that night was something truly extraordinary, a UFO encounter that the government has never fully acknowledged. So, what do you think? Was it an alien craft? A military experiment? Or just a case of wartime panic? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your theories. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Stay tuned for more strange stories and mysteries, right here on The Martian Chronicle.